Dear students, in this video lecture we are going to deal with Python functions. Python functions. The agenda that is covered in this video lecture is what is function and types of functions. Calling a function, significance of indentation, very important one. How to a function returns a value. How that function returns a value. Arguments in functions. We have different types of arguments in functions. What is function? Function is nothing but a name given to set of instructions that performs a specific task. Set of instructions that performs a specific task, like add, function name add, and contains some statements related to that add operation. The corresponding thing will be done. You got my point? By passing the corresponding arguments to that one, corresponding value result will be returned. Those functions that returns a value, those functions are called fruitful functions. Fruitful functions. You got my point? And other functions are called just a procedure. Rather than function, we will call it as a procedure. In Python, function is a group of related statements that performs a specific task. Functions help break our program into smaller and modular chunks. As our program grows larger and larger, functions make it more organized and manageable. Actually, the concept of functions are mainly to code reuse. You got my point? Reusability, to increase the reusability. Not to write again and again. You got my point? If at all you define a function one time, you can able to reuse as many times that you need. You got my point? To increase the reusability, we are going to use the functions. And it will give some organized way of writing the program. So that different modules, chunks, you got my point, can be differentiated. Types of functions, you have built-in functions and user-defined functions. Built-in functions, of course, I already mentioned you, there is a standard library where you have many packages, modules, where you have already existing stuff is there. You got my point? You can able to reuse the already defined functions and all those things. You need not to write on your own. You got my point? You can able to reuse already existing built-in functions. Of course, you can write your own based on your application. Those functions are called user-defined functions. These are the some built-in functions: absolute, all, any, ASCII, pin, bool, byte array, like that. Same way, these are the examples. Of course, you go through all these things on your own. Try at least once. You got my point? Try all these things at least once. You go through and you get the meaning of it. You got my point? Absolute, any, in a given list. You got my point? All. You got my point? And whatever of course you will get the built-in functions like max. You got my point? Min. You got my point? All these can be done. You got my point? Same way length of the string. You got my point? Same way round, sorted, power, sum, round, 1.2, sorted, a, given list, entire list is automatically sorted. In C, you have to write a big program for sorting. Power, you got my point? Same way power 2 to the power of 4, 2 to the power of 5, sum of entire list A, help, you got me? Regarding this, if at all you don't know about how to use or what is the real meaning of corresponding function, you can use this help. You got my point? Help function is your new best friend. You got my point? You can just use it. Okay, same way user-defined functions. Okay, this is the way of creating user-defined. First you have to use the keyword def. Function name, functional braces, and colon, and you have to follow this indentation and write on your own and just print over there, or you can return, or you can write a return over there, It's all up to you. And calling the function. This is the way of calling the function. You got my point? Where you can able to get the input from the corresponding keyboard, enter int input of, and converting the whatever the string into int. You got my point? 100, 109, and that is converted and placed into A and B. And this will be the addition, and that will be printed over there. You got my point? Advantages of user-defined functions. User-defined functions help to decompose a large program into small segments, which makes program easy to understand. Actually, the concept of modularizing the entire program is very, very important, where it creates some division of the entire. If at all you suppose a big program is there, that means it contains thousands of lines. You got my point? Where you can able to get some organized way of coding by introducing the functions over there. You got my point? Of course, you can write as many user-defined functions so that it saves a lot of effort. I mean, you can able to reuse as many times. No need to write again and again. You got my point? The repeated code occurs in a program, and function can be used to include those codes and execute when needed by calling that function. Programmers working on large project can divide the workload by making different functions. Calling a function. To call a function, you can simply call like this. You got my point? These are the arguments, actual arguments and formal arguments. You got my point? Indentation is very, very important. Indentation is very, very important. You got my point? Code blocks and indentation. You got my point? This indentation is very, very important. How to function return a value. If at all a function returns a value, that function is going to be called as fruitful functions. Very, very important point. If at all a function does not return any value, there is nothing but a procedure, simple procedure. You got my point? But we will stick here with the Python way of is also calling it a function, or if we want to stress it, a non-fruitful function. Procedure is nothing but non-fruitful function. Here it is an example, return by just simply placing the keyword return. You got my point? Square to square. I mean, here the 10 is passed over there, and 10 into 10 and return by. This will be placed over here in result, and result will be printed. Of course, we have different types of arguments in Python. Functions arguments, required arguments, keyword arguments, default arguments, and variable length arguments. Required arguments. If at all you are going to mention in the function definition itself the corresponding argument, obviously you have to send the corresponding argument while calling that function. If at all you does not mention over there, obviously you will get an error. You got my point? Syntax error, type error. You got my point? Same way, keyword arguments. That means keyword means actually what you can able to mention, that you can mention this keyword over there, and you can send the corresponding argument, actual value. By using keyword arguments, what benefit that we have is you can send the arguments in whatever the order that you need. You got my point? You can see that here age is 50 and name. The first one is name actually, but we are sending by using keyword arguments. You can send the age first. You got my point? I mean, the relevant name is used over there, and obviously that value is fetched here with 50. You got my point? This is the advantage of using keyword arguments. And the next one is default arguments. If at all you are unable to send the corresponding value to the corresponding function header, you got my point? Obviously default value will be taken. Here age 50 is overridden on 35, But here there is no age value. Obviously it will take 35. You got my point. Same way variable length arguments. Actually there is a provision of variable length arguments. I mean, you don't know how many arguments that the corresponding end user will supposed to give to the corresponding function. Obviously there is a mechanism where you can able to add these variable arguments, where you can send as many as you need. You got my point. You can see that arg1 var tuple, it is a tuple value. You got my point. For var in var tuple, just print. You got my point. You can see that output is 10, output is 70, 60, 50. Based on your whatever you supposed to give over there. You got my point. While executing the corresponding program, variable length dot py, you have to point variable length dot py, how many arguments that you send it to the corresponding function, based on that one it will execute. You have to point. The asterisk is placed before the variable name, this gives you variable length argument name. You have to point. This tuple remains empty if no additional arguments are specified during the function call. If at all you does not send any argument to that one, obviously empty. You have to point.